Introducing the exclusive WWE Survivor Series 1997 t-shirt, spotlighting the event that forever changed pro wrestling, the legendary Montreal Screwjob. This isn't just a shirt, it's a badge of wrestling lore. It's a limited release. So act now. Snag your piece of history now before the final bell rings. Find it and our growing selection of merch, swag, and collectibles at our website, merch.ringsidereport.net.
While you wait for the start of today's broadcast, here's a programming note from the Ringside Report Network. Each and every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, dive deep into the heart of MMA with Ringside Report MMA. Join seasoned analysts Dave Simon, Fred Garcia, and my good friend AJ D'Alexio as they dissect every fight, analyze strategies, and reveal their top betting predictions. From main events to prelims, our trio deep dives into the strengths, weaknesses, and potential game changers for each fighter. Looking to place a bet? Benefit from the expertise of our analysts and get an edge over the competition. Discover lesser-known facts, training camp secrets, and behind-the-scenes tidbits that only our seasoned crew can deliver. Share your fight predictions and be featured in the broadcast. For both new fans and longtime MMA aficionados, Ringside Report MMA is the key to unlocking a richer UFC viewing experience. Become an MMA insider. Don't miss out on our exclusive content. Subscribe now and ensure you ring that bell for timely notifications. Show some love with a thumbs up and share your insights in the comment section. Step into the octagon with the best in the business. Subscribe and join the Ringside Report universe today. Get ready, Ringside Report universe, because UFC 293 is on the horizon, and it's going to be a knockin' extravaganza, capiche? Hosted by the one and only Dave Simon, joined by the dynamic duo Fred Garcia and my good buddy AJ D'Alessio. This preview show is ready to take you through all the epic clashes set to ignite the octagon, and you better believe it, they're even going to lay down their betting picks. The main event, folks, it's a middleweight championship showdown that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Israel Adesanya, the champ who's done it twice, stepping into the lion's den against the fierce Sean Strickland. It's striker against the striker, finesse against power. Who's going to snatch that gold? This fight, it's going to be a classic, my friends. All of England and Ireland agree with me, and that ain't even the whole story. We got a lightweight showdown originally meant for UFC Fight Night 226. Now moving right here. Nasrat Haqparast and Landon Quinones, they're set to duke it out. And trust me, these warriors, they're going to give it their all in that cage. You won't even blink. You won't want to miss it. And hey, don't you dare forget these hosts. They ain't just talking fights. Nah, they're diving deep into those odds. And you know what? They're spilling the beans on their betting picks. You want to make a few extra coins while you soak up that MMA madness? Well, my friends, you can bet your cannoli on it. These guys got you covered. So listen up, buckle in, because this UFC 293 preview show with Dave, Fred, and AJ is going to give you the scoop you need, the forecast you're itching for, and that excitement that only the octagon can bring. You know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, flip those notification switches, and get ready for a wild ride through the MMA world with a side of bet and thrill. It's going to be legendary, ragazzi.
It's the AEW All Out Post Show on the Ringside Report Network. Let's do it.
Start.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show. I'm Dave. There's Johnny. We just watched AEW All Out. Thank you for joining us here late on a Sunday night, Labor Day weekend. Shout out to everybody in the chat joining us. I see Ray Cruz, member of the team over at joined.ringsidereport.net. Be like Ray. Shout out Ray. Shout out Doug Hepburn. Doug Hepburn says, "You're right, Johnny. Not enough time to build much in a week. Kind of watered down like night 2 of WrestleMania or 2 nights of WrestleMania."
That's a good point.
Yeah, this was a kind of like a part 2 for All In last week, All Out. We just watched this pay-per-view. Shout out to Doug. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Harold Schneider dropping a super chat. Thank you, Harold. Ryan Katz, Franco, Lorne. See you guys out in the chat on YouTube. See everybody on Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Kick, Facebook. Thank you for joining us here tonight. John, AEW All Out in the books. I thought we had some good wrestling matches. I know we talked briefly before the show. You weren't super excited about what we saw tonight, but I thought we had some good in-ring action. Just to recap for everybody who did not see AEW All Out before we break it all down, the night started with an over-budget charity battle royal that was won by Adam Hangman Page. Hikaru Shida, Willow Nightingale, and Sky Blue got a win over Athena, Mercedes Martinez, and Diamante. And the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn and Dennis Rodman got a win over Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal in a trios title match. And that was the pre-show. The main card opened up with Adam Cole and MJF with a win over John Silver and Alex Reynolds, which, you know, obviously to retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Samoa Joe retained his Ring of Honor television title with a win over Shane Taylor. Luchasaurus beat Darby Allin in a pretty good match. I enjoyed that one to retain the TNT title. Miro got a win over Powerhouse Hobbs, and Miro's wife, the ravishing Russian Lana, showed up after to save her from Hobbs, and then Miro was not happy. We'll talk about that. Chris Statlander beat Ruby Soho to retain the TBS title. Bryan Danielson beating Ricky Starks to win the strap match. Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta with a win over Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata in a tag team match. Konosuke Takeshita beats Kenny Omega in what was one of the best matches of the card for sure. Bullet Club Gold, the Guns, Jay White and Juice Robinson got the win over FTR and the Young Bucks. And Jon Moxley in the main event in a bloody affair for Orange Cassidy mostly. John beats Orange Cassidy in the main event. Moxley, the new AEW International Champion. I thought that match was pretty good too. Let's get it kicking right off the bat here, John. Score on 10. What are we giving this thing? I want to know your thoughts in the chat. Let me know. What's your score on 10 for AEW All Out? A little bit of a longer show than you might want. Just over 3.5 hours. I liked it. I was entertained throughout most of it. But I thought it was a little bit too long, and they could have cut 3 or 4 matches out of the show and probably would have been a better experience. John, what did you think about All Out?
Well, I agree with you in different ways and disagree with you in different ways too. Like, I feel like match-wise, we were okay with how many matches there were. Just some of the matches should have just been shorter in what they were. I thought some matches just kind of dragged a bit. And if they were a bit shorter, it wouldn't have been so bad. Like Samoa Joe, Shane Taylor, that was fine what it was. I mean, it wasn't much of anything, but it was fine little beat down back and forth, and then Joe won. That's simple. That's all it needed to be. This wasn't a big, huge match. This was a Ring of Honor match that we barely really knew about if you watched only AEW. So that's exactly what it needed to be. That was fine. But then we had Claudio and Yuta against like Kingston and Shibata. Like that didn't. How long was that? Like that felt
16
like
minutes.
forever.
It's 16 minutes.
That
It was
felt
too long.
yeah. Well, it felt even longer than 16 minutes. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's stuff like that. Even like I didn't mind at parts the 8-man tag, but even that I was like, okay, this is kind of way too long.
Yep.
And that's kind of really hurt the show in a lot of ways. A lot of these matches, like yes, we had some very good matches, maybe even great matches, but then we had some matches where it's like, okay, you're kind of putting me to sleep a bit here. Like after the 8-man tag, I'm like, this isn't that long of a pay-per-view normally for AEW, but because some matches just dragged, I felt like I was falling asleep.
And it was kind of sloppily put together because all the matches were made this past week. So there wasn't a ton of build to get you very excited about anything. So we just had a bunch of long wrestling matches. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's not. That Claudio and Wheeler Yuta versus Eddie Kingston and Katsuyori Shibata match was not great. It was 16 minutes long, and Claudio won with a European uppercut on Eddie Kingston. It was just not...
Yep.
It was very basic. It wasn't much of anything. The finish was flat. It was not very good, and it was way too long. I agree with you. That match was too long. I thought Miro and Powerhouse Hobbs was way too long. It went over 15 minutes. Why?
It was good, though. I mean, they had some good moments. Like,
yeah, but they could have done it in a little bit less time.
I agree. It did, yeah. It was longer than probably needed to be.
Even the Adam Cole MJF against Dark Order match, it was 14 minutes long. That one was kind of like, all right, guys, we know what's going to happen here. You could wrap it up. You could have wrapped it up in under 10.
It. The MJF like injury thing, like that dragged it. So,
yep. But we had some great matches. So overall, what are you scoring this thing? I'm seeing some scores in the chat. Ray Cruz giving it a 7. He says, I was expecting it to be bad, only it wasn't bad. It was too long. Doug Hepburn says, lots of good wrestling, and seeing Danielson back gives it a 7. Yeah, I gave Payback a 7.5. I like Payback. Again, a little bit too long. I thought that this was not as good as Payback, but it was all right. I'm giving this one a 7. I agree with the chat. I think they're right on. I thought this was a 7 on 10 because we had some excellent matches. I thought Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy finished off the show really strong. I thought Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita had a kick-ass match. I thought Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks stole the show. We had some good matches. But everything else, Darby Allin and Luchasaurus, I thought had a really good match. Yeah.
Yeah, you gave Payback a 7 as well, though.
Say it again? I thought I gave it a 7.5.
I gave it a 7.5. You gave it a 7.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll give this a little bit less, 6.5.
Okay, fine.
I don't know. I feel, well, I don't know. Maybe this was on par with Payback because, Payback was all right. Payback had some good matches, but also had some flat matches. I thought this was about the same.
Well, I think the huge difference for me is like, Sportsnet, it's only like $14.99 a month. This is $50, and I spent $50 last week for All In, which was fantastic. One of the best AEW pay-per-views. Then we come back with this, and I'm like, well, this kind of didn't feel like I got my money's worth on this one.
Yeah, I gave last week's show like an 8.5. And this week I'd say is about a 7. Maybe a 6.5, honestly. Because there was a lot of stuff that was kind of not great, but no, if I gave Payback a 7, I think I'd give this a 7 too. Seems about right. Didn't blow me away. I didn't think it was garbage. I thought the main event was really good.
Right.
Kenny and Takeshita was really good. Bryan Danielson is great. Darby's great.
Yeah, no, there were some very good matches, but unfortunately, like the match I didn't like, I really didn't like. So for me, it somewhat balances out to like a 6 on 10. Like it's slightly better than like above average, but not by much.
6 on 10. Johnny giving it a 6. I'm giving it a 7. Although I'm starting to think maybe I like Payback a bit more. Maybe this is a 6.5, or maybe I have to revise my Payback score and give it a 7.5 instead of a 7. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, figure it out. It's your score in here. How you feel? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I thought Payback was all right. I thought this was all right too. I didn't hate this show. You know, it was pretty good. I liked All Out. We had some really good wrestling matches, but you're right. Like, I guess I didn't hate the other matches as much as you did. You know, like the ones that you really didn't like, you really didn't like them. I didn't hate them. Like Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander, I didn't think was great, but I didn't hate it. It was all right.
I didn't hate that match, but I'm like, I didn't think it was anything. It was all right, but I felt like they had a better match before, and for whatever reason, like the crowd, like they were into it and then they weren't into it sometimes. Like I felt like the first two matches they weren't really into it. Like came alive for Miro, and Statlander and Ruby, like not so much, and that kind of hurt. I felt last time when they had a match, like the crowd was really into that match. It helped.
Statlander's not really over as a babyface.
She reminds me, like watching the match, I'm like, this feels like watching Raquel Rodriguez all over again. Like she's strong, you know, like she looks like, you know, a star, like she has a great look, but at some points there's a little bit of clumsiness, and it kind of showed in the match.
Finish came when Saraya had the ref distracted. Ruby was going to go spray paint Statlander. Tony Storm came out from under the ring, stole the spray paint can from Ruby, then laughed about it, which distracted Ruby. Statlander hit her finisher and retained her TBS title. Didn't love the finish there. Did not love the finish.
Well, we're going towards Saraya versus Tony Storm. That's clearly where we're going eventually, it seems.
Yeah, for the title ever since last week, right? There seems to be some breaking apart of that outcast group. Doug Hepburn says, I thought Payback just went through the motions, didn't seem important. Yeah, it didn't seem important. As for tonight, AEW, 7 AEW shows in 7 days, burnt out a little. Yeah, it's a lot of wrestling shows for AEW. It's a lot, man. It's a lot with the CM Punk thing, like everything. It's been a whirlwind for AEW. They've gone through a lot in the past week, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like regardless of the Punk thing, like you have to build up a pay-per-view, and like besides that one match, a strap match, everything else was just kind of rushed, and that's on them. That's not really on what happened with Punk. They didn't put it together well.
Well, the strap match was kind of rushed too. I mean, I think Bryan Danielson was brought in.
That's the only thing where like they, you know, get a pass on it, because the strap match, clearly that was supposed to be the Punk match. So I mean that gets a pass, but the other matches, like that didn't involve Punk. You had more than enough time to build all that stuff, and you built what 2 or 3 matches at most.
Well, Darby and Luchasaurus had been built for a while,
right? Yes.
And Moxley and Orange Cassidy, you could argue, has had a decent build, because Orange has been champion for a while, and he's been kind of building that side, and Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club have been feuding with Orange and the best friends, and this was a big match. Orange defending his belt against Moxley, the big boss. You know, can he do it? This was
That's 2.
That had some build to it, and it was worthy of the main event. I thought that match really delivered. John Moxley delivered a vicious beating. Orange was a bloody mess. Orange sold it really well. You felt sympathy for Orange. Moxley looked like a monster. Moxley took some nasty moves as well. That beach break on the exposed floor.
Yep.
It was good stuff. That match really delivered. And then John Moxley winning in the end. I thought the finish was good too, where he hits the DDT. And then you think it's over. 1, 2, Orange just kind of kicks out, kind of just raises his shoulder. And then you're like, all right, what's going to happen next? Orange just kind of gets to his feet slowly, flips Moxley off. Moxley hits him with a big Death Rider DDT. Again, 1, 2, 3. I thought the finish was solid. You know, Orange just took a vicious beating, wouldn't go down. Moxley had to hit him with everything to take him out. But Orange just went down fighting. It was a fight he couldn't win. It was a fight you understood that he couldn't win. but you respect him for the heart and the effort that he put out because he took a vicious beating. And you see him, he looked near dead after the match, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation when it was all over. It was a nice feel-good moment for Orange Cassidy. He lost, but he still won. You know, he still wins the crowd. He still wins a lot of respect from wrestling fans. That was a big moment. He got to main event All Out in Chicago against Jon Moxley. He lost, but it's a win, you know? And now Moxley, as the international champion, I think elevates that belt. This was just the belt that was brought in. It was a new belt. Orange Cassidy's held it since it began, pretty much, right? Was he the first, or was Pac the first?
No, he's second. Pac was the first, and Pac actually was the international champion. Oh, no, wait. They changed it when in Cassidy's reign, but technically that title was called something different before, so yeah.
It was the
All Atlantic, I think, title?
Yes, All Atlantic. And then they changed it to the International Championship. But Orange has been, you know, a long-running champion, good run, and now Moxley takes it and elevates it. He's a main event guy with that belt. Now that belt's going to mean way more. It was good. I thought that main event was a good way to close the show. They didn't have much for this show, but this was a good match to end it. Not my match of the night, though, John. Not my match.
I would say it's mine. I would say it's like that was the perfect, like, in terms of the build. Like, again, at least this is something they built towards a little bit, and it had good build. People were into it, and it told a good story, and it had a good finish, which I feel like with a lot of matches, you can't really say, like, it did all those check boxes right there. Like, it kind of, some matches were good, but some things were missing, especially finishes. For whatever reason, AEW, like, I always question, like, all these finishes, they just come out of absolute nowhere.
Yeah.
But this one was built very well. And again, the crowd was into it almost from start to finish. So, to me, that's easily match of the night.
Let me know what your match of the night is. Johnny North giving it to the main event, Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley. I think you know where I'm going with my match of the night, John.
Yeah, of course. And, like, it's not bad, but my main issue with that is the finish. I thought the finish, like, the way it was going for Ricky Starks, like, I get why they do that finish, but that's not what he should have had.
Why not? I think Bryan Danielson, Ricky Starks, a strap match, my match of the night. Bryan Danielson is a master at work. It's an upgrade when you have CM Punk taken away, but then you get Bryan Danielson. That's the only way to upgrade from CM Punk. They got Bryan Danielson. Even better.
Well, no, you ruined the story because it's not the same kind of thing.
Upgrade. The match is better because of Bryan Danielson.
It's a different kind of match. And, like, I don't know about you, it seemed like Bryan was very limited in that match. Like, it's just like, let's beat the crap out of each other. Let's not do a lot of, like, counter wrestling. By the way, we're strapped together, so it's going to be difficult doing that. And, let's just beat the crap out of each other. I mean, that's an easy way to do it. And that's what they did. There's nothing wrong with that. I felt way too much choking, though. Again, like, little things that didn't need to happen, but it happened in this match. And the finish of Ricky Starks getting choked out, that's not the finish that he needed.
I thought it was. Because, you know, he fights, he has a battle with Bryan Danielson, he can't quite beat him, Danielson chokes him out, but Ricky won't quit. Ricky doesn't tap out. Ricky, like Orange Cassidy, wins by losing. I mean,
I get that.
He still wins.
That's not what we've been building here. We built the fact is that he'll do whatever it takes kind of thing. And, like, he's a dastardly person. Like, he'll take advantage of Ricky Steamboat, whip his belt off. It doesn't matter. Like, with that kind of thing, it's like, no, now you have to get your just desserts. Like, here, like, this is it. Like, we're going to beat the crap out of you. And it's not like we're going to show how tough you are. It's like you get the crap beat out of you, and that's it. You get beat. But
well, he did get beat. He got choked unconscious.
Yeah, but the way they showed it, it's like, oh, he's so tough, he won't give up kind of thing. And you even just said it right there, like, oh, he looked good in the loss. Like, no, he's got to lose. Or have him win, which would have been amazing.
He can't win. Bryan's got to win.
Bryan doesn't need to win.
He does. He does.
He's a heel, too.
Is he?
He came out with Moxley at the end.
Everybody loves him, though. Everybody loves Bryan Danielson. You can't help it. He's the best. I thought Ricky Starks looked good losing because you know he's going to lose because he's wrestling Bryan Danielson. Just having a match with Bryan Danielson is the victory in itself. You got to wrestle Bryan Danielson at All Out in the strap match. You got choked out. You lost, but you put in a good effort. You made Bryan Danielson bleed his own blood.
My main thing, he's the heel, and he just turned heel. Like, don't make him into a badass. Make people appreciate him for what he did. Like, oh, he could take a good beating. No, that's not the reaction you want.
Yeah, it is a babyface reaction for him. But, you know, in AEW,
Especially
they kind of go back and forth all the time. It's never clear. What?
Oh, no, well, that's not their philosophy on it. Their philosophy is like, oh, you know, like, he's going to lose, but let's make him look good. And it's like, but you're a heel. Like, now people are going to love him more now again.
Well, yeah. But
what are we doing?
I don't know. It's their booking. I just thought the match delivered, you know? I understand the booking problems you have with it, but they're both heels.
Right.
So, I don't know. Somebody had to babyface it up at some point. I guess it was Ricky Starks.
Maybe the guy who was with Ricky Steamboat, you know, maybe that would have been a better idea. I don't know.
Bryan Danielson, wasn't he with Ricky Steamboat?
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe, you know, have him like I thought he was supposed to be, especially he comes out with a final countdown. Again, these heels that come out to these face music all the time, like,
yeah. Well, maybe Bryan was the baby face. I really wasn't giving it much thought, like who the heel and who the baby face is. I was just like, oh, I guess Bryan is Bryan and Ricky Starks is Ricky Starks, and I don't know. I wasn't thinking in that way. I guess maybe Bryan was the babyface and he just beat up Ricky Starks. Gave him what he deserved. But Ricky Starks stays strong. Like, you can't just beat Ricky Starks and leave him like a total jabroni. Like, you beat him, but he still got something. You know, you didn't pin him. I don't know. I thought the match was very good. Huh?
Especially because Steamboat interfered too. I mean, that could have been really the out right there. Is that Steamboat interfered and kind of made it leveled, so that wasn't good for Ricky Starks.
I thought the match was pretty damn good, though.
Yeah. Right, it was a good match. Again, the finish I had a problem with, and the overusing of choking. Like, choking kind of takes you out of a bit. Like, they did too much.
Why?
Because you do it once or twice, it's like, okay, that's good. And then you do it again, it's like, okay, well, now we're just killing time here, doing nothing. Like, you've already choked him a bit. Like, well, what, now he just can't breathe anymore? Like, how many times can you choke a guy, and then you believe that, oh, he's fine afterwards?
Well, you apply the choke, you fight the choke, and they were building towards a choke finish. A choke out finish. It was storytelling.
Yeah, but they went back and forth with it. Like, Ricky did it to Bryan.
Yeah.
It was too much of it.
Don't question Bryan Danielson. How dare you?
No, well, Bryan just loves to beat the crap out of everybody and beat the crap out of himself, which is enjoyable to see, but I think it's fun. It was a little too much. He went a little excessive with it.
I love it. He goes hard, too, with those strap shots. Like, that was nuts. When they were hitting each other with the straps, like, bam, bam, bam. Like, they were nailing each other with those shots. When Bryan was hitting Ricky Starks with the yes kicks, he was laying them in. Those some serious strikes.
That was great. Just don't have to overdo the choking. How long was that match?
16:40. Perfect. Okay. I think it was perfect. I thought that match was great. That was my match of the night. What's your match of the night? Let me know in the chat. I'm not seeing a lot of match of the nights.
I don't know if a lot of people watch this because, you know, spending another $50 after all in, like, not very easy.
Yeah, let me know if you watched AEW All Out in the chat. Did you watch it? Did you watch it? And if you did, what's your score on 10 and what's your match of the night? I want to know in the chat. Let me know on YouTube. Let me know on Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, Kick, all the things. Speaking of bad finishes and great matches, Konosuke Takeshita beating Kenny Omega. Thought the match was great.
Yep.
They hit each other with everything, all kinds of ridiculous German suplexes that Takeshita was hitting. Kenny took a suplex early on in the match right on his head that was just devastating. Takeshita hit a swanton from inside to outside the ring with Kenny, who had a couple of chairs on him. Incredible match. But the finish was Takeshita going into the corner, lowering his knee pad, and then running at Kenny and hitting him with a knee in the head, and 1, 2, 3. Now, I understand, one solid knee strike can put a man out, and that's how you can win a fight. In the UFC, it works, and sure. But in a match where you do big move, and then you end it with a knee, when you've already hit, feel like dozens of just knees to the head in the match, but then you expose the knee, and it's all of a sudden like a death blow. I thought the finish was super flat. Match was amazing, and I thought it deserved a better finish.
Yeah, 100. Exactly how I felt about that match. It's the only match I had wrong too in the predictions. Damn, I'm so upset. Almost perfect.
I didn't have them. I didn't have Kenny losing either.
Yeah,
but he did. He keeps losing.
Well, it puts people over. It's not a bad thing. Maybe Bryan should take some lessons.
How dare you? He puts people over all the time. Ask MJF.
Yeah, he put one guy over, yeah.
He gave a lot of his body to that match to make the world champion look like $1 million. Gave the world champion match of the year there.
Is it match of the year? We'll find out. It's not over yet.
It is.
Okay.
Name a better match.
Again, the year's not over yet.
So okay, it's September.
I really still I know you hated the match in Money in the Bank, but I thought it was really good.
Which?
It was, I think, Roman solo against the Usos, Money in the Bank. That was a great match. I know you hated it.
Match of the year, though? Come on, man.
No, yeah, it was really that good.
Nah.
I thought that was a fantastic match.
Dude, we're talking about the Iron Man 60-minute MJF Bryan Danielson. That was a classic.
I mean, they're both candidates, I think, at this point.
I thought last night's Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn against Damian Priest, Finn Balor match was better than that Roman match you're talking about.
No,
that tag match was sick last night. That was great.
It was good for a street fight, but it wasn't, match of the year. But
all that wrestle acting, man. I'm sick of that wrestle acting.
Just
wrestle, stop acting. I don't know why you like it so much. You like that soap opera bullshit. Fucking nonsense, man. I like Bryan Danielson. Kick your fucking head off, That's what I'm talking about. He's gonna get his fucking head kicked in. Ooh, Ospreay Omega. Yeah, that was pretty damn good too. Thank you, Ray Cruz. That's a candidate for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Way more than Roman and fucking Solo against the Usos. What? Doug Hepburn says
kind of style.
Yeah, way different kind of style. One is acting, the other one is wrestling. I don't know what you're watching here, Johnny.
It's still wrestling.
Kind of. Doug Hepburn says Danielson Stark was my match of the night, 7 on 10. Ryan Katz says he never pays for a pay-per-view, so he didn't watch it.
Well, that will do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you never pay for pay-per-views, I understand. There are ways to watch it without paying for it. Ray Cruz says 7. Which is what I scored it. A lot of people giving it a 7. Looking back, it's a difficult choice. Probably Omega, Orange versus Mox, then Takeshita versus Omega, tied with Bryan versus Starks. Yeah, I mean, those 3 matches, whatever you choose, I'm going with Bryan and Starks. Doug going with that too. Johnny and Ray going with the main event. I'm not going to argue with that. I thought that those were the top matches on the card. Bryan and Starks was incredible. Kenny and Takeshita was nuts. The stuff that they do, the bumps that they take. My neck and head hurt just watching that match. You know what I mean? God damn. How does Kenny keep doing that?
He's flexible.
He's a tough dude.
Yeah.
But he keeps losing when he's advertised from North Carolina. He needs to say he's from Winnipeg, and maybe he'll win some matches again. They don't even say Winnipeg anymore. They just say North Carolina. What's that about?
I don't know if it's about they put over the fact that ever since Don broke away from him, he's been on a losing streak. So they seem to be pushing that right now.
See, Takeshita hit the Haluva kick and then the Blue Thunder Bomb back to back. Hit the
Off
kick
the top.
and then the Blue Thunder Bomb. He hit the Blue Thunder Bomb off the top, but earlier in the match, he hit the Haluva kick followed by the Blue Thunder Bomb, and then what's his name? Excalibur was like, oh, they wrestled in DDT together, El Generico, da-da-da. So it was like an El Generico tribute there. Sami Zayn, if you don't know.
Well, Excalibur said I guess that was his first match, so he takes a lot of what Generico or Sami Zayn does, and
yeah,
that's it. That's who he is now.
He didn't say Sami Zayn,
cool.
though. He said El Generico the whole time, right?
We heard Stone Cold Steve Austin tonight.
Yes.
I think, Nigel said that.
Nigel said something about, knee braces, JR, somebody you know well with knee braces, and JR sounded like he didn't know who Nigel was talking about. He's like, who's that? JR's like, what?
Well, no, I think he knows a lot of guys with knee braces. That's the problem, I think. It's like, which one?
Yeah, he's like, who are you talking about, pal? He's like, JBL? Like, who are we talking about? He's like, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And JR's like, oh, yeah, he had knee braces. It's like, yeah. They didn't say Roman Reigns, though. They could have. Did you notice Orange Cassidy hit a Superman punch followed by a spear? Hoo!
He's wrestling Moxley, too.
Yeah, against Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. So
pretty
that's
good.
why, I think.
Like, Orange always does that orange punch, but he doesn't usually do Superman punch and then a spear. And when he hit the spear right after, the commentary was like, oh, he hit a spear. What? Like, I don't think they connected what he was doing there, but I saw it right away. Superman punch followed by a spear. You're doing it to Dean Ambrose? It's a Roman Reigns tribute. Orange Cassidy was acknowledging his tribal chief right there. Pretty good. Got to acknowledge.
Well, he should have won with that, but, clearly he's not the tribal chief.
No. Also, watching this match, seeing how gigantic Dean Ambrose, Moxley looked over Orange Cassidy. What would Orange Cassidy look like in WWE? Like, it wouldn't work.
He'd look like Tozawa, pretty much.
Yeah. Or smaller, even? Like,
maybe smaller.
You remember what Dean Ambrose looked like next to Brock Lesnar?
Oh, yeah, he was like super small. Like,
what would Orange Cassidy look like next to Brock Lesnar? Like, I kind of wanted Jon Moxley to just obliterate Orange Cassidy, take his belt, and then Orange to, like, stand in the ring at the end like, hey, I did it, I survived, like, just bloody and beaten. And then the Beast Incarnate comes out, and it's Brock Lesnar, and it's like, oh, my God. And then he just murders Orange Cassidy. Suplex, dead Orange. I mean, it's not going to happen. But just seeing how big Moxley looked over Orange, I was like, man, imagine. Because I was like, man, Moxley's not the hugest guy. I remember him next to Brock not looking gigantic, looking kind of, But, and then I thought, man, what would happen if Brock stood next to Orange? He'd squash him like a bug. So that didn't happen. No Brock tonight.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see Brock.
Huh?
We're not going to see Brock in AEW. We should have got that Payback because they advertised them. They showed him in the promo package. No Brock.
No Brock. But yeah, Moxley looked gigantic next to Orange Cassidy. Gigantic. Looked like a monster, But Moxley's not like the hugest guy. He's not a small man, but he's not a monster. He's not Miro. How about Miro? Miro and Will Hobbs had a match. The fans were into it. I thought it went a little bit long. Miro made Will Hobbs quit with his accolade. What do they call it? Game over?
Game over.
Game over.
Yeah.
There you go. And then they shook hands after the match, but then Will Hobbs attacked Miro from behind and was beating up Miro. And then Miro's wife, they didn't give her a name. They didn't say a name. They just said, it's Miro's wife. And I'm like, it's Lana. Everybody knows it's Lana. I know they can't call her Lana, CJ or whatever her name is.
Right.
So Lana came out with a chair. Huh?
Maybe they're going to give her a name. They just haven't figured one out yet.
Yeah. I hope they give her a name. I'd like to see her around more. She came out with a chair, smacked Will Hobbs in the back. And it wasn't a bad chair shot from Lana. I was like, uh-oh, she's
No,
got a chair.
it
What's this
wasn't
going to
bad.
look like, you know?
I think someone in the back, like they went over this and said, okay, you better hit hard. And
You better lay it in. Will Hobbs can take it.
Yeah.
And then he took the chair from her, and he stood her down and just kind of was like looming. And then Miro nailed Hobbs with the chair in the back and then hit him in the head with it, kind of a glancing blow off the head. Hobbs left the ring.
It's AEW.
Yeah, why not?
There's no policy or whatever. They try to, but they don't always oblige by their policies.
So then Lana was standing in the ring looking for some sort of hug or kiss from her husband. And Miro just kind of looked at her and was like angry and was like, no. And then he walked away from her. And she was like, what?
Boy, you're skipping the best part. Before he walked away, the crowd's chanting, beat that meat. You didn't hear that part?
They were chanting, weren't they chanting beat that meat and meat during the match because they were two big meaty men slapping meat, as Big E would say, and that's become like a thing in wrestling. So the crowd was saying meat and beat that meat when the guys were hitting each other, but then when Lana came out, they were also chanting beat that meat because they're lewd wrestling fans. Is that what you're saying?
It's Chicago. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Chicago being Chicago, yeah.
Yes. And most of those guys, that's how they operate full time. So, yeah, Miro doesn't want anything to do with Lana. He's going to beat that meat, and Lana's not going to be with him. What's up with that? Bad choice, Miro. Stick with your wife. Like the fortune cookie says, stick with your wife. That's a
Well, he
Simpsons
won the
reference
match
for you,
without
John.
her. I
You
think
know what I'm
that
saying?
I forget that one, but
That's all right. Homer, he's in the the fortune cookie. It's a stick with your wife fortune cookie.
Okay.
As he's thinking about cheating on Marge. It's an early episode. Stick with your wife.
Oh, is it the Michelle Pfeiffer one, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways. So Miro, he has renounced Lana or said he wants nothing to do with her in promos, right? And now she shows up and he's like, no. All right. I mean, whatever. Get together already. You're good together. You're a good team. I wanted Bryan Danielson's wife to show up too.
I saw the memes like he hasn't forgiven her for the Lashley thing, so.
Whatever happened to her and Liv Morgan having sex? I wanted to know more about that. We never really got into that. They kind of dropped that whole story. Remember that when Liv Morgan's like, what about me, Lana? Why are you marrying Bobby Lashley? We have a relationship. And I was like, oh, yeah? And then they dropped it entirely. I was like, what? Come on, man. I've been watching Lana make out with Bobby Lashley for the past couple of months. You know, how about Lana making out with Liv Morgan for the next couple of months? Give me that. Whatever happened to HLA, Eric Bischoff? You know. Anyway.
Yeah, they weren't going to take it that far, so
maybe
AEW
will.
And that was it.
Maybe AEW will. They're a filthy
with
company.
Who?
Huh?
Who is she going to be with exactly?
Whoever. Take your pick, man. I don't know. Who cares? It's all about the HLA.
I guess Anna Jay wouldn't be that bad.
There you go. Johnny's taking his pick. Johnny's like, who would be good?
Think about it. Yeah. Well, if you thought about it too, I'm like, Dave would probably pick this too. So
I'm not giving a pick. I was just saying HLA. It doesn't matter, brother. I just like saying HLA because that was a thing in wrestling. And if you don't know what it stands for Hot Lesbian Action. And that was the thing that Eric Bischoff would promote as the general manager of Raw. Hot Lesbian Action. And it was said so often that they had to abbreviate it to HLA. Just so good that it was thrown around so often that they're just like, we need to shorten this somehow. HLA, pal. Everybody knows.
It's like 20 years ago, but some things just stick with you, you know?
I mean, the fact that they had to abbreviate, the fact that they kept saying Hot Lesbian Action on TV, on wrestling TV, and they just kept saying it and promoting it as like a thing that they would make the lady wrestlers do with each other. It's fucking outrageous.
Remember, Stephanie was with them one time too.
Did she have to do HLA?
There was some sort of like playing with her hair or something that happened. if I
That
remember
is
correctly.
assault. That is just some sort of assault, I think. You can't.
It's not assault that she doesn't fight back.
It's coercion. Yes, John, don't say that. That's not true. It is. It is. It can still be. You need to learn things. Oh, let's get out of this topic and talk about something else. Luchasaurus beat Darby Allin to retain the TNT title. Christian was outside the ring and was beating up Nick Wayne and was gonna concerto him when Darby was setting up for the coffin drop. Darby got distracted. Luchasaurus took control, got the win. Christian went to concerto Darby Allin after the match, but then Sean Spears and some other guys that I didn't recognize made the save for some reason. Who were those guys? Why were they helping Darby?
They were like extra guys, like guys that probably wrestled Ring of Honor that we don't really know about because we don't really watch Ring of Honor. So
I guess it was weird. It was like, who's gonna save Darby? Oh, Sting! And then it was just like a bunch of jabronis. I was like, what? What is this? Why is the Job Squad here?
Well, it gave them a spot on the pay-per-view at least.
Yeah,
They've done that actually in the past too. I think a bunch of Ring of Honor guys. They had them as security guards actually, just extras like that.
Sean Spears though.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, I don't know, like because they had him, I guess.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that Darby didn't win the title. Good match though.
I think we predicted it though. Like I think
Yeah.
we both said that because he'd won so many matches recently, and it's like, well, he's gonna lose one finally, and it's gonna be the title match. Luchasaurus, like it was his first or second defense, so yeah, he wasn't gonna lose right away.
Are you not impressed though that Darby, after everything he went through last week on the pay-per-view, is back this week doing everything that he did in this match? Like, my God, what a monster this guy is. He can really take a beating.
It's impressive, but I kind of wish that he'd take it easy a little bit now because you worry that he's gonna have a short career because that's a lot on his body to take.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a lot, and I appreciate that, but maybe give him some time to heal a bit because you can tell like he's in pain all the time.
This match, though, felt like the real beginning of the pay-per-view because the first two matches before just weren't anything. Adam Cole and MJF getting the win over Silver and Reynolds, like, whatever. Felt like just a continuation of the pre-show,
Yep, 100%.
And then Samoa Joe beating Shane Taylor, same thing. It felt like nothing. The only thing of note there was Samoa Joe coming out, making his entrance while MJF and Adam Cole were walking away, and Joe kind of pushed MJF. MJF didn't like it, went to the ring, attacked Joe. Joe put him in a front face lock. Security separated them. Maybe they're setting something up between MJF and Samoa Joe. There was something there. I think MJF versus Samoa Joe for the belt would be pretty good. But the matches themselves, were nothing. It was just the angle in between that was something worth watching, right?
Well, it makes you think now too, because MJF has that tournament coming up. We only had Roderick Strong as a contender. Put Joe in there, kind of makes it interesting.
Yep. Do you think that was a CM Punk reference? Two guys crossing each other between matches. The veteran Samoa Joe pushes the younger guy. The younger guy charges at him. The veteran puts him in a front face lock, guillotine choke, and then they get separated. That is kind of what we understand happened with CM Punk and Jungle Boy last week, right? It felt like they were kind of doing that in an angle.
Well, I thought it was mainly because that Samoa Joe MJF thing that happened in NXT. That's why they did the whole push thing. I don't know.
What?
I guess you haven't seen that clip. Yeah,
MJF was
Joe
like an extra and Joe pushed him.
Yeah, and Joe pushed him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a security guard and Joe pushed him.
Yeah. So I think that was where that push came. Maybe the guillotine, whatever, but the whole push thing was because of that, to bring up their history. Because I think MJF said like, "Oh, I'm not the, that kind of person anymore, mother, whatever," and he went after him.
Ah. Okay, maybe there's that. maybe there's that too. I don't know. It's just the way, and putting him in the front face lock and then all the security jumping in between. It's like, oh, isn't that what CM Punk and Jungle Boy did? Right?
I don't know. Apparently, well,
that's what the story was.
If that's what put Tony's life at risk, I'm like, wow. Like, I'm kind of surprised by that. If that's the only thing that happened.
Man, if CM Punk in his underwears makes you feel like your life is at risk, you need to hit the gym. Like, get it together, man. If you feel like your life is at risk by CM Punk and he's got no weapons and he's just in his wrestling trunks, like, what are you scared of? I saw him fight in the UFC. He's not that scary. What are you worried about?
Well, I think, look at Tony, look at Punk, like,
Well,
still,
yeah.
Come on, like, Tony should be afraid, but
life. Tony needs to take it. Tony, a little billionaire, skinny guy, he needs to take the example of Mark Zuckerberg and start doing jiu-jitsu and MMA, and maybe he won't be so scared of CM Punk next time.
Well, your work environment should never be a scary place, though. I think we can both agree on that. It's just, again, I don't understand the logic of, like, you're scared for your life, but then you let him go to the ring and have a match, and then be backstage and everything, and take photos, and everything's all hunky-dory. But, again, a lot of things don't make sense, but we don't know the whole thing yet, so.
Yes, and apparently CM Punk is going to tell his story at some point, and I would love to hear that. I wonder what CM Punk is going to say when he finally does speak about the whole situation. And if he's fired, you would figure he could say whatever he wants, whenever he wants. The Young Bucks got booed, got chants of CM Punk, but then Matt Jackson tagged Nick Jackson into the ring, and they hit some moves, and they were doing their Young Bucks thing, and the CM Punk chants turned into Young Bucks, woo, woo, Young Bucks. The crowd turned because you see what the Young Bucks can do, you see their wrestling ability, and you can't help but love what they do. They're great wrestlers.
Well, I noticed it felt like Nick got cheered for his stuff, but when Matt came in the ring, he got booed a lot. So I don't know. Like, it's kind of a weird thing going on there.
Matt seems to egg them on more. Matt did the victory lap last night on Collision after the show, like running around the ring, kind of taunting the crowd. Matt trolls way more than Nick does. Nick just kind of does his thing. Matt is the attitude. Nick, and Nick is the flashier wrestler too. It's harder to dislike Nick than it is to dislike Matt, I think. Matt is the mouthpiece. Matt is the guy that talks for the Bucks. Nick, he doesn't talk that much in his promos. When the Bucks are doing promos, it's mostly Matt. Matt is the guy kind of at the forefront. He's the older brother. He's kind of the Matt Hardy of the group. Jeff, more laid back, more in the background, maybe the more talented wrestler, maybe the more flashy performer. But the brother the Matts, they're the brains of the operation. They're kind of running the show. They seem to be at the forefront of the team in a lot of ways.
I noticed commentary went a bit quiet when Dax went to the crowd and went like that.
Mm-hmm.
Commentary was very silent after that happened.
I guess they're not supposed to acknowledge it. Even though, why not?
They were chanting CM Punk, so
yeah, many times
they're egging you on.
Many times they were chanting CM Punk.
You can still buy CM Punk merch, by the way. Like, they fired him, but you can still, pay the money for his merch.
Interesting. I wonder if he gets a cut.
You should, I would think.
Yeah, you would think so. But the Bullet Club Gold beating FTR and the Bucks. Jay White hit the Blade Runner on Cash. Match was okay, but it wasn't anything special.
It dragged and it was kind of like all over the place. Like,
in
terms of a tag match, like, out of control. Too much out of control.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that, Hangman got some boos when he won that Battle Royal. Later on in the show, though, Nigel McGuinness announces that the $50,000 that Hangman has won to give to a charity of his choice will be given to a Chicago education fund. So they're like, I know you hate Hangman, but look, his gimmick match that he won, he's going to give the money to a Chicago charity. Like, okay. It was an odd moment, especially because you saw Nigel go on camera. Do I do it in the ring or do I do it here? Do I do it right? It was like he didn't know what was going on.
They were changing the ring around, so he didn't know if he should go in or not. I think.
Yeah, but you saw that on camera happening, which isn't something that you normally would see on camera.
That looked kind of rough to watch that, but that happens. But I don't know if you noticed too, when Ricky Steamboat came out, he was talking to a girl, whatever, I think with orange hair or something. Like he was walking around, he went right back to her, and I'm like, that seemed kind of weird. They had a bit of a conversation, and then I saw a photo afterwards. Apparently, she flipped off Hangman. And
yes, in the front row. I saw that picture.
Yes. Oh, you saw that picture? Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently, Steamboat went right back to her afterwards, saying, "Oh, there's no middle fingers for me," because I guess everyone else saw that in the back too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So Steamboat kind of called her out?
No, I think he was just joking about it, but it's funny that he noticed that. So if he noticed that, then I'm sure a lot of people in the back noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And probably made something out of it, actually, too.
Yeah, and they're all there. I mean, that happened early, right? If you see them all flipping off Hangman, and there's this person in the front row who everybody can recognize as they're walking out for their matches and doing their matches. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, it's only flipping people off. Like, it's not the end of the world, but...
No, it happens in wrestling all the time. Orange Cassidy just did it to Jon Moxley.
There you go.
One time I did it to The Miz on pay-per-view, and Jerry Lawler started laughing on commentary. I popped the king.
Doesn't exist anymore, but yes.
It does not exist anymore. WWE did edit it out of the replay. But it did happen, and I popped the king. So I was very happy about that. Lawler was quite amused by it on commentary. He saw it. He starts cracking up. I watched it back later. I was like, yes. The King liked it. I don't care if the Miz didn't like it. The King thought it was funny. So he's made me laugh many times. It's good for me to repay the favor.
It was a good moment. It
was
helped
pretty
that
good.
show, I think.
It was a shining moment for me, for sure. Because it's just the camera pans to the Miz. I think it was a baby face. Miz goes to the crowd, and you just see me and my brother several years ago jump up, start flipping off the Miz. And, like, it was just, that's all you saw, you know? And Miz was supposed to get a babyface reaction. You just see two guys just flipping him off, and Jerry Lawler's like, oh, this Philly crowd doesn't like the Miz or letting them know what they think about him. So funny. It was just, like, perfect timing, you know, and, like, a perfect shot. It was, like, right on me and my brother. This Miz, me, my brother, flipping Miz off. Oh, Miz. I can't believe he's still wrestling. God, he's terrible. The match last night was the worst match of the weekend. Nothing on All Out was as bad as Miz and LA Knight. Nothing. Not even... Nothing. Not Statlander and Ruby Soho. No. Miz's match was worse.
You might be right. I haven't really thought about that. Again, I didn't hate any of those matches, really, so...
Who's worse, Eddie Kingston or The Miz?
That's a tough one.
I know. They're both so terrible. I'll tell you, though,
well,
they both
I'll
have
give Eddie
fans.
the promos, though. I think Eddie's a better promo.
Miz has a way better look, though.
Yeah, you're right, though. Actually, it's kind of tough when you think about it.
Yeah. Who's worse?
That's tough.
I think Eddie Kingston might be worse than The Miz. Because he was pretty bad tonight, and he's pretty bad usually.
But he, you know, it's crazy he's like The Miz, too. He can have moments where he can be pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I think his moments where he's pretty good are better than Miz's pretty good moments, too, though. You know, like, I like his promos way better than I like Miz's promos, but I don't really like his promos, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say, yeah.
That's a good one. They both had the worst matches of the shows, though, right? Eddie Kingston's match tonight was the worst. Miz's match last night, the worst.
Yeah, possibly. Quite possibly, yeah.
For sure. That Eddie Kingston match tonight was the worst match of the show.
I didn't see the pre-show, so I'm only judging from what the pay-per-view was.
I love how commentary now is just talking about how Eddie Kingston's out of shape. They're just like, he doesn't have a good body, but, he's tough. And it's like, he may be fat, and Claudio may be in the gym all the time, but, well, Claudio just hits a fucking uppercut and finishes him. Doesn't even hit his spinning thing. No neutralizer, just uppercut. Take that, fat guy. 1, 2, 3. Like, they're just talking about how he looks like shit on commentary now. They're not trying to hide anything. It was crazy. I was like, wow. They're not being very nice to this Eddie Kingston fellow. Eddie Kingston.
Well, what I thought was kind of surprising, like, didn't they just have Eddie, defend his title on television, and then he loses? Like, granted, he lost to the Ring of Honor champion, but kind of surprising they have their champions lose.
It's kind of surprising Eddie Kingston has so many fans.
I see it, though, because, he worked his way up there. It was tough for him to get there. So a lot of people are glad to see him get there finally.
Yeah, but once he's there, I have to watch him.
Okay, well.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is...
Again, he's had some good moments. Like, I thought his stuff with Punk was very good.
Who had a bad match with Punk?
That's a good question, yeah.
Nobody.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because he's great at wrestling. Should have fired Eddie Kingston instead of CM Punk. Anybody has a problem with CM Punk, they're fired. Stop me when I'm telling lies, baby. Come on, man. Nobody had a bad match with CM Punk. All Punk's matches were good. His match last week with Samoa Joe was 10 times better than Samoa Joe's match tonight. Everything Punk did was great. Great run.
A lot of, I felt, All In compared to All Out is wow, there's no comparison. And when I saw tweets this is so much better than last week at All In, I'm like, are you drunk?
Yeah, they are.
Are you on drugs?
They are. Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. I mean, people are drinking. They're watching these shows. They're on something. Or they're just drinking the Kool-Aid, A lot of people just have nothing but positive things to say.
Well,
every week, it's the best show they've ever seen.
There might be that. There might be some sort of propaganda spread because, it's a new beginning, so we got to make this positive, and this is even better than it actually is kind of thing. So
yeah. Tony Khan did the right thing. He finally fired CM Punk. Now the boogeyman's gone. We can have a nice, happy wrestling show where everybody's friends. Boring.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's still great wrestlers, though, in AEW.
Yeah, of course.
Can't deny that.
They had a good show tonight. Despite everything.
But they should never do 2 pay-per-views back-to-back like this ever again.
No, they shouldn't. No one should. No one should. It's just not smart. No one does. For a reason. Didn't make sense. AEW All Out. We will be back Friday night for Wrestling Uncensored. We'll be doing things, talking about wrestling. SmackDown's in Boston. So, that's good. Raw's in Charlotte. AEW's in Indianapolis this weekend. Or this Wednesday, rather, for Dynamite. Indianapolis. Collision in Cleveland next week. I wonder if anyone will show up. Hey, Cleveland's own Ryan Nemeth can actually wrestle on Collision this week. So that'll be good. No CM Punk. He can be back on the show. I know everybody in Cleveland will be real happy buying tickets knowing that, well, we don't have CM Punk, but at least we have Dolph Ziggler's brother. Whoops. I mean, no, I think Ryan Nemeth is fine, but, when you're buying a ticket, who would you rather see? Can you get a refund?
They won their...
If you bought tickets for Collision, can you get a refund? Because if I had a ticket for Collision and I bought it to see CM Punk, I'd want my money back.
I did see some people, they did, trade in their tickets or whatever.
Mhm.
I noticed a bunch of that happening tonight.
Makes sense. People want to see CM Punk. People wanted to see CM Punk for years and years and years. He left wrestling, he came back, and he had an incredible run. He got hurt a few times, but like I said, everything he did was amazing. His promos were great. His matches were great. The only problems he had were backstage. In front of the camera, he was kick-ass. He sold tickets. He drew ratings. He moved merchandise. He was a lot of fun. And he showed why he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. Right? One of the best of all time. Killer run. It sucks to see it end like this because he's so damn talented. I would like to see him continue to wrestle. Hopefully he lands somewhere and something good happens for him and he doesn't fight with everybody he works with. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. But I don't think anyone can deny he had an incredible run. He had some great, great wrestling matches. It's too bad to see a talent like this go down in this way. Whatever you may think of him, you can't deny that he's very talented at pro wrestling. And to see him lose his career like this, lose his job like this, sucks for pro wrestling. If he was nice and got along with everybody, you're telling me you wouldn't want to see him on TV? If he was best friends with the Young Bucks, you're telling me you wouldn't want to see him on TV? Of course you would. He's very talented. People are mad. People are taking sides. People are offended that CM Punk doesn't like the Young Bucks when they themselves don't know the Young Bucks personally in any kind of way. People don't know all the facts, but people think that they do because they read dirt sheets. Literally called dirt sheets. You're reading dirt, and you think it's facts. You know? Dave Meltzer is not the New York Times. You know what I'm saying? Dave Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp and these people, they cover professional wrestling. Like, they have a certain amount of integrity, but they also cover professional wrestling. You know? It's not the fucking White House press corps. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fucking AEW all-out fucking press conference is not... There's no nuclear threats. There's nothing serious at stake. It's bullshit backstage fights between professional wrestlers. Put things into context.
Well, not anymore.
Guys.
Well, I wish we still had those.
They'll happen
those
again.
are fun.
They'll happen again, and Tony Khan's life will be at risk, and, you know, more people will be fired. I guarantee you there'll be more fights in AEW. For sure.
Well, you saw what Andrade posted, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. It truly shows you there's a divide clearly in that locker room. And I wonder, by that tweet, is he saying like Punk's going to go to AAA? Because that's interesting. Oh, you're going to show it too.
Of course. Thank you,
This
CM
was only
Punk.
like what, a couple hours ago.
Yeah. I hope and we meet again, but I love Andrade's English tweets. Thank you, CM Punk. Yeah. # AEW Collision. I hope and we meet again, but face to face in the ring. We have a pending match. Fist emoji, X emoji. Yeah.
So yeah, I hope he means that they're actually going to wrestle in AAA, because that'd be fantastic, I think.
Or in WWE.
Well, I think Andrade's probably going to stay in AEW, but he can still wrestle in AAA.
Yeah, is he not going back to WWE because did he break up with Charlotte? Are him and Charlotte done?
I have no idea.
I heard that they were maybe done.
You know, you keep up to date with this kind of stuff. I really don't whatsoever. So I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe they're not. I hope that they're still together and everything's going well.
These days.
Huh? Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Angelo's here again. Cool. 3 nights in a row, Angelo.
There you go.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, I read something or I saw something where it said, oh, maybe Charlotte and Andrade are broken up, but I don't know if that's real. So hopefully they haven't, but I don't know. I wish them both the best.
Well, there's a new Punk story, too. Like, is that real? Like, the whole Regal thing? Like, that seems ridiculous.
Super chat. The what?
Oh, you didn't see that? Apparently, like, Punk wouldn't shake Regal's hand or something. That's the new story. Like, it seems to be like an anti-story or anti-Punk story to make sure he doesn't go to WWE that people would believe that he has heat with Regal because he thinks Regal's like a Triple H stooge.
Well,
I mean, regardless of if you think that believe what that is or if he is a stooge or whatever, but like the fact that he wouldn't shake his hand or something, like if I remember correctly in WWE, he praised Regal. You don't remember that time on commentary, like he buried Shawn Michaels, saying like,
yeah.
Shawn just stole money from Bryan Danielson. Regal's the one who really taught him.
Yeah, I'm surprised Punk has a beef with Regal.
Exactly.
But Regal is a Triple H stooge. I mean, can't deny that. He is.
Right.
Wow. Is that really a story going out there that Punk wouldn't shake hands with Regal?
That's something that popped up, yeah. But again,
but then Punk was backstage, wanted to talk to Triple H at a WWE show. So why would he be mad at a guy who's a Triple H stooge if he wants to talk to Triple H face to face?
See, a lot of things don't add up.
Yeah.
People just throw stuff out there and like, oh, well, this could make sense, so why not? That's what these stories seem like.
You see, Meltzer said, like, oh, the story that Punk lunged at Tony, it was way more than a lunge. We're being way too nice to Punk. It was way more. And, like, they're alluding to so much. I saw Meltzer was talking about it, and he was like, oh, there's way more to this, and we'll know more, and it'll all come out. But, like, what do you mean way more than a lunge? Did he grab Tony? Did he smack him in the face? Like, what happened exactly between CM Punk and Tony Khan? And is there video, and can I get it?
Like, in between the whole, like, pre-show into the match, like, it seems like a lot of stuff happened there. And
how was there
Punk
time?
Comes out, yeah, exactly. Like, there's no scratch on Punk whatsoever. There's no, like, it feels like he's roughed up or anything. Nothing. He looks perfectly fine. Like, yet apparently this horrible thing happened. Again, questionable.
Yeah, well, I know that there will be probably a ton more stories coming out over the next several days about CM Punk and AEW and Jungle Boy and the Young Bucks and everything going on there. And we'll talk about it on Friday night, right? Here on Wrestling Uncensored. Shout out to Doug Hepburn, dropping a super chat. He says, Dave, thanks for recommending Hogan Rogan podcast. Hi, Johnny. Yeah, that was a funny podcast with Hogan and Rogan. Good one. Shout out to all the members. Doug Hepburn, thank you. I think Harold Schneider is the super chat leader of the night. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Doug. Nice. Thank you, Ray Cruz, Angelo Contagonis, and all the members checking in here tonight. All those who have joined over at join.ringsidereport.net, join.ringsidereport.net. You are the lifeblood of this channel. You keep us going. I've been on this channel the past, 4 days? 4 straight shows. Thursday night for Ringside Report MMA. Friday night for Wrestling Uncensored. Last night we were here for the for the WWE Payback post show. And tonight we're here for the AEW All Out post show. If you missed any of the shows that I just mentioned, check them out over on our channels. The Ringside Report Network, ringsidereport.net. All the videos are up there on our official website, ringsidereport.net. Shout out to Angelo dropping a super chat. You're the new super chat leader of the night. Thank you, Angelo. Nice. You will be the winner tonight, and we love you. We appreciate you. And I will be back here Thursday night at 8 p.m. with Ringside Report MMA. We have a UFC pay-per-view to cover, big UFC pay-per-view next weekend. We'll be doing the watch-along here on Saturday night. Next Saturday, September the 9th, it'll be UFC 293 in Australia. So we'll be here Thursday night previewing that for you Thursday night at 8 p.m.
At 10?
What?
It's still going to be at 10 p.m.? Like the pay-per-view is going to start?
I believe so. I think it's a regular pay-per-view.
Okay.
Now you got me double-checking. Yep, regular time. Saturday night, 10 p.m.
Okay.
Normal.
That's good.
Yep. So Thursday night, 8 p.m. is when you'll get the preview for that. You'll get our picks Thursday night, 8 p.m. right here on the Ringside Report Network. And then Johnny and I will be back Friday night, 10 p.m. right after SmackDown for more wrestling talk, for Wrestling Uncensored, right here on the Ringside Report Network. This has been the All Out Post Show. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. We would really appreciate it if you could help us spread the word.
You know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, flip those notification switches.
We are an audience-supported network, so consider becoming a recurring supporter at membership.ringsidereport.net. Check out our website at ringsidereport.net. Hope to see you again next time.